My name is Natalie Heath, and as Sally said, I am a yoga teacher and a meditation teacher, and I'm also an Integrative Nutrition Health Coach. I trained at the same school as lovely Zoe. And basically the way that I have decided to take that and specialise is by helping people to move towards a plant-based diet. And there's a few reasons for that, because I believe that it's really the most important thing that we can do as a species for our survival, and also actually for our health as well. And I don't sort of say to everyone, oh, you have to go vegan straight away, because that's obviously not the best thing for a lot of people, but helping people to sort of increase the amount of plant-based foods in their diet, decrease their reliance on animal-based foods for pretty much every chronic health condition that you can imagine. That is actually a really supportive way to prevent it and reverse it as well. So basically, a little bit about my journey and how I got here. My relationship with food ever since I was a child, I could say was, quite challenging. Even probably obsessive, I could even go so far as to say. So when I was younger, I had quite a large appetite. And my mum, I was my mum's first child. And so my mum obviously just wanted to feed me what she thought I obviously needed to feel satisfied, which was great. But as you can imagine, I put on quite a lot of weight. And then when I got to my sort of early teens, and I started to become a bit more aware of my body and how I looked and the media and everything, that unfortunately developed into a bit of an eating disorder. So I developed anorexia, and I struggled with that for quite a few years, and healed myself kind of out of love for my family. I could see what my illness was doing to my family, and obviously with the support of my family as well, I healed myself, except I didn't really heal myself. I just sort of tried to, I guess. I just started eating, and that sort of spiraled into eating to cover the pain. I gained weight, and then all the way throughout my 20s, I sort of yo-yoed between one fad diet to the next. I was vegetarian at that point, and even went on the Atkins diet, which, does anyone know what the Atkins diet is? You know, for a vegetarian. I think they've sort of adapted it now, and I think there is a more plant-based version of it because they're cottoning on as well. But back then there wasn't, so I was trying to follow the guidelines, but for meat eaters, and it didn't really work. Anyway, then an epiphany came. I discovered juicing, juice cleansing, raw food. I went on a juice retreat. I think it was about a week, and I lost half a stone, I think, in a week. Needless to say, I was delighted. I was like, wow, this is amazing. I've dropped all this weight in this short amount of time, and I'm doing it really healthily. This is so cool. I learned about raw food there, the concept of raw food, which I'm still really passionate about to this day, but I'll tell you how the relationship changed. And so basically from then, that became my new obsession. So I was teaching raw food. I was doing quite a lot of sort of juice retreats, juice cleanses at home. I think my longest was about 21 days, and I lost the most amount of weight that I ever had in my adult life. Went down to the lowest weight I ever was. And sort of on the outside, to everyone else, I looked really happy, I looked really healthy, really successful. I was running my own retreats and workshops, and, everything was great. But on the inside, what had really happened was my eating disorder had resurfaced. And this time it had a different name. Does anybody know what that name might be? Orthorexia, that's right. Thank you. So orthorexia is quite a new eating disorder. Some of you may not have heard of it before, but it's basically an obsession with eating like clean, healthy, pure foods. So the sufferer will always want to have everything that's 100% clean, 100% pure, 100% healthy. And if they go towards or eat by mistake or in a moment of weakness or whatever, something that they deem to be processed or unpure, that causes like massive anxiety meltdowns. And that's what was happening to me. But on the outside, obviously, nobody could see that, and everyone thought that everything was okay and fine. But as you can imagine, that's like a really extreme way of being, of living, of eating. I was eating 100% raw all of the time, all the way throughout the winter and everything, like not listening to my body at all. So I got quite ill. I got anxiety and depression developed. And I basically just had to like retreat from the world. I closed my raw food business and I retreated from the world, and I just spent like a couple of years sort of getting myself well again, really. So how did I do that? That's the next question, and sort of leads into why I do what I do today. So when I was doing that, I wasn't actually vegan, I was vegetarian. I've never eaten eggs, really, but I ate a bit of dairy, like raw dairy. And when I sort of retreated and started to think, okay, what's going on here? Like, how can I get through this? How can I get over this? How can I heal myself? I just had to sort of stop and tune in to my body. So this is kind of a common theme to what a lot of the speakers have spoken about tonight, actually. And it's just about stopping and coming back to myself, coming back to my heart, coming back to my body, like tuning into what my body actually responded to, what my body actually wanted, what was in my heart, diet-wise, but also lifestyle-wise, for my own personal core values. And for me, I stopped eating dairy because I realised that actually wasn't that great for me, and that was causing certain problems, digestive problems. I wasn't eating gluten anyway. And I basically just sort of, just really tuned in and listened to what my body wanted. And it sort of just wanted more balance, it didn't want these extremes. It didn't want salads in the winter. It wanted seasonal eating. So I started to eat, everything was plant-based because that suited me and because of my values, but it was more about like eating seasonally, eating in tune with nature, in tune with what's going on outside. And I found that taking that approach and really listening to what my body wanted, I began to heal. My weight sort of evened out and just became effortless to maintain. And my my mental health really evened out, and I felt great and I felt amazing. And then I sort of regained my love and my sort of passion for wanting to help other people to feel better and to be able to tune in to what they need in their bodies and bio-individuality. So I trained with the Institute for Integrative Nutrition, and that's one of the core concepts is bio-individuality, which I was sort of discovering on my own anyway, but then coming to this wonderful school and understanding, actually, it makes sense, Other people are teaching about this stuff too. So I learned about that there. I learned about tuning into your heart, tuning into your core values, to find what works for you as an individual. I learned about primary foods, which basically are everything that nourishes you in your life that's not on your plate. So that's not food. So relationships, career, spirituality, physical exercise, creativity, all of those things are equally important. And no amount of broccoli or kale is going to make you healthy or happy if you're in a really toxic relationship or, you hate your job or whatever. So it's all about balancing and living from your heart, living from your purpose, and that was just such an eye-opener for me. And now I bring that into my work with other people. And usually their journey is to move towards a plant-based diet because the body inherently knows what it needs to be healthy. You inherently know what you need to eat and do to heal and be healthy. And usually that's to increase the amount of plants in your diet and decrease the amount of meat, eggs, and dairy. And so usually my clients, I'm helping them to move more towards a plant-based diet. But it just goes way more than that, you know, when we're getting in touch with our hearts, when we're finding our true purpose, and when we're extending that out to the whole rest of our lives. And I realised that actually my struggles with food and my eating disorders were really a result of not actually knowing myself very well at all and fitting in, wanting to fit in. And one of the things of IIN is about fitting out. Isn't that right? You know, fitting out. Fitting out, don't fit in, fit out, be you, you know, and be proud to be you. And then the other thing was that, yeah, I just had a real massive imbalance in my primary foods. So when I started to connect to my heart, when I started to fit out and be myself, when I started to balance everything else in my life, the world opened up for me and I became healthy, I became strong, mentally and physically. And now that is what I do with anybody who wants to come and help me to come and help them. So yeah, that's my story.